Welcome to the Diacom Light Frequency. This is just going to be a small, brief demo to show you the main pages of the program and how fast and easy it is not only to utilize this machine, but to learn this machine. So many pieces of equipment on the market are difficult to understand or difficult to follow. Not so with this piece of equipment. So, let's take you in. We can work on a client that's existing, or we can put one in. To make a new client, is simply a matter of putting a name and their age and the sex in. No other information is required. We're going to go ahead and go into an existing client for the purposes of this little demo. And we're going to talk a little bit about what comes up on this particular page, because this is really your key page. This is what tells us what we're going to do. We're going to start with this page. It's the page that really gives us the meat of what is available on this particular device. This is where we make our choices. Whether we're going to look at the small list that's visible here, or whether we're going to extend this list. And when I say extend, I mean extend. If I click on the All button, this is in fact an area that will in fact give us a lot more. Now I can't do that yet because I have to in fact have done at least the first test on this particular item here. Even if I stop it after that, then my All button will be available, and we'll show you that in just a moment. But under that All is a very long list of many places in the body: blood, chromosomes, cells, and all the organs and sarcoidal areas of the body. Now, what you do with these is where you make the choices. The first choice, of course, after you run that first one, is I could say, I'm not running any of the other things on this page. I simply came in to do my heart. I want to see the heart panels and nothing but the heart panels. What is the stress like to my heart right now? What frequency imbalances might be present? I have that option. Someone says, I want to see what the thyroid stress might be like. I can do just thyroid or just endocrine system. That's one option. The other options entail the express, the standard, and the detail. And this means that it's going to change how much time it takes to run this scan. Express does it quickly. It takes about 15 minutes for it to run through the areas of blue and then build a list by what shows up in the categories that it goes through, because there will be a dot placed next to each one that is run of green or red or burgundy. The red meaning there's a level 5, and you'll understand this more in a moment, or a burgundy meaning a level 6, which means we have more concern in those areas. If it finds one of those, and the color of red or burgundy come up, it continues making this list longer. If it doesn't come up, it doesn't build the list. So, express is quick. Standard takes a little more time. Detail goes through everything in the long list. The other options we have are under these two particular buttons, whether we're going to do a fast frequency balancing on areas that we have a problem with, or whether we're going to go in and analyze and take a look at the issues, like why is this happening, or how does it compare to my last visit, or how does it compare to the frequency of a particular homeopathic that we are thinking might be helpful for that stress. So this is where we have those chances to take a look at things like that, or to extend the picture and make the picture even bigger on many of the pictures, not all of them, but most of the pictures. We can extend the size and add more of these locations to check. We can also evaluate a fragment of a picture to determine if there might be something prevalent in that one area alone that may be more of a concern. So there's several things we can do within this one button. Alright, to start, it's very simple. We hit the Start button. It's going to scan through 3 pages. The first one looking at the graph to determine the main blue, which is in fact the way it should look, and the red, which is the stress levels of the client you're working on. Second, this page, which is the scanning page, which places those dots on the picture of level 1 through 6. And then back to our main page to give us our list again and to start seeing it if it's going to grow or not. Again, your measuring page, now your scanning page with your levels 1 through 6, which also come up over on the picture on the side, It also has a color button to make it in black and white should you happen to be colorblind, so you can see the shapes easier. Notice that the list is starting to progress. So far there's not been any level 5s or 6s. Because of that, it's not going to give us anything else in the longer list. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording on this for a moment and let this list go through and continue. And then we'll be back again to continue on from that point. Okay? That way you don't have to sit through a lot of these scanning through as we're doing this part of it. You'll notice that the last one of these that it scans on here is going to end with the chromosomes. If they find a level 5 or 6 in here, then it will build the chromosomes into a larger list also, ending with research done. Now, you'll notice that the original ones of the blue are still here, and then because of the reds that came up on these level 5s, it brought in other items of the pancreas and spleen, liver, and right and left wrist. So our list has gotten a little bit bigger, but not very much, because remember it's on the Express. It's only looking for the major issues, not going into great detail. All right, from here we have two ways of doing analysis, or excuse me, from here we have two ways of doing a balancing frequency, what we call a meta frequency. That means we choose on one of the ones that we have a red on, and we go to the meta frequency button, which is a very fast, easy button to push on with a start button. It makes the scanner actually start moving and progresses from that target location and tries to change any of these and all of these to a more positive number than what it is now. So if it's on a level 6, it tries to move it to a 5 or even a 4 and so on. If it's on a 2, it'll try to make it into a 1. So the frequencies are trying to rebalance and trying to help. That's the first way. This is the easiest one. It also means that after we do this, we're able to go in and look at it in a comparison to the first one we did to see how much of a change there really was. So we can do this by going into the analysis. And this is where the other way of doing the frequency balancing is also at. Because analysis allows us multiple options of things to do. So if we go into analysis now, we're looking at the skeletal from front, which has got the meta frequency behind it, because this is the one we just did the frequency for. So we have one that was the original in red, now one in green because it's changed that level 5 to a level 4. Go into analysis, and I can do a comparison by going to Analysis Plus to determine the before and after effects. So this is before and after. So this is today when we came in here, both the same picture. Once I hit the auto search, it's going to pop the picture over to what it looks like from the beginning of today's session to what it looks like now. In this case, it says strengthening compensatory reaction of 40%. All right, we would do this up to 3 times to see about increasing the better frequencies. Let's go ahead and exit this. And it takes us back to our page where we had for our analysis page. We're going to go close this one out and back to our main screen. Now I want to take a look at something that's got more information. Unfortunately they're not in red, but I would like to be able to do something that's going to have a little more for you to look at. So let's do something like the cross-section of the chest. And I'm going to use that analysis button here. Now, why has it got a red dot before we hit that button? Well, let's look at the picture. There is Y right there. It's a level 5, a blue. So we're going to go ahead and go into analysis and take a look at this a little bit more in detail. Now, if I want to know what this is, if I don't know, there's a text button that puts these little check marks here. And on this, if I just put my cursor there, it tells me where that location might be at for concern. If I want to know more about what else it might be linked to in other pictures in the program, it gives me places to go. Like here, it'll take me to the ventricle front, where we'll run a quick scan on that particular panel that I hadn't done yet to see if there's more I should look at in that location. So it gives me options. This is what's nice about the analysis page. I can remove those buttons, and I can go over here and click on this little magnifying glass to allow myself to be able to go in and add a larger section in here. Once I do this, it adds more dots, and it adds in a button that says Evaluate Fragment, where this allows me to take a look and see in a closer detail, is there more I'm missing? Once that is done, I'm going to go in and look at the homeopathics it might suggest and what kind of stress imbalances it might have that are relating to it. And I do that by looking at this test button. I check on the areas, C, D, and E, that I want to see on here. You can do just one of them. You can do anything in that list. It's a large list. And I can now go over and hit the Adjust All and Auto Model to determine if there's something in here that I need to pay closer attention to. It's also the location where I, in fact, could start to do some thoughts about what I want to save for later for printing. It's also the location that I can make a choice if I want to try and print these later, where I can designate information to go to the picture. It's also a location where I can, in fact, make a remedy of a homeopathic. This is also the location that if, in fact, it is a remedy, we know that it's already an inverted frequency and would be utilized in that manner. If it's a organ part or not a remedy, we could in fact use the inverter button to make an inverted frequency to in fact build into the reprinter, making a homeopathic. From here, I also have the option to do a meta-analysis, and I can go ahead and click on this and do my frequency balancing on this location. Again, you do this up to 3 times. So let's go ahead and do it 3 times. I'll be back in just a second. As you watch this the first time, you're going to see some of these start to change over and see where they are starting to flip when it hits the scanning bar. So we're going to do it 3 times. As the scan is almost done for the 3rd time, you can start to see the differences in the colors that have now been produced by doing the meta-analysis three separate times on this. Compare this using the Analysis Plus that I showed you earlier by clicking on Analysis and Analysis Plus and then the Auto Search. Now there may be other ones on here from earlier visits, and you can see how it was at the earlier time, what this looked like compared to what it looks like now, telling us a strengthening compository reaction of 60%. I can click on Auto Search again. It will take us into another picture that compares, and eventually we'll get to the one from today, which will have the little blue dot on it. We're just watching the dates change over. And there is today's earlier one, so you can see where it started out and where it ended. Okay, let's go ahead and close this out. This gives you a little insight about what this machine looks like and how simple it is. Basically, you're looking at 3 pages using 2 different buttons up here and then a couple of options on the other page. Meta frequency, the 1 button to start it. Analysis gives you the option of going into a few panels to look at history versus looking at areas of greater concern. Thank you for joining us for this little demo. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I see you soon in class. Have a good day.